Welcome, I'm Nid. I'm a karma guide and I support people in how it is that you can live a more aligned and enjoyable life through simple practices of how you live a little bit more intentionally. And this month we are exploring in our spiritual businesses and workplace wellness how it is that you can maybe be a little bit less of a workaholic. Now, I confess, I was a workaholic for many years and I still struggle with this addiction. As a lawyer, I was even told by my bosses that I could go home early. I didn't have to come in so early, but I loved to be in by 7 a.m. because I was there before everyone. I could get a good solid couple of hours work done before other people came in and kind of bothered me. And then, I knew that I'd got through the things that I wanted to get done in my day. And that way, then the rest of my day, I could be of service to my colleagues. And then I would still inevitably stay late because that was the culture of the workplaces that I was in. And it was even to the point where I was missing my partner's 40th birthday celebrations because there was a crisis at work. Those moments of working over my weekends rather than being with my family and attending to important events. So we can all end up in those scenarios where we're really working all the time, and it's really easy to say that it's the culture of our businesses, that is the culture of most business places. That having smartphones, emails, being on demand means that we are constantly working, that we never know how to switch off. And is it as much to do with your own discipline, or is it as much to do with the culture that we work in and the kind of demands that are placed on us? So we're going to break this out into those two key parts. So number one is the cultural side of things. Now, I was a lawyer in the days of Blackberries, before we'd even got to smartphones. I did do things like not take my charger on holiday with me so that I could try and learn to turn my phone off, and not be so under the control and of needing to respond to my workplace. However, this didn't really stop the fact that I really was quite addicted to my work. And that was a sense of myself being really satisfied in my job. But there was a genuine expectation that even on holiday, I would respond. And that was very clearly said to me by my bosses. And they would be pulling me up on performance if I didn't respond to my emails out of office hours and on holiday. So I am very aware of this culture that some of you may be under, which really makes you feel like you have to be responsive. And I can hand on heart say that even as the workaholic that I am, I resisted and I would try to turn my phone off and not answer and not be available all of the time just for my own well-being and trying to save my relationships, which, my marriage didn't last. So I can really relate with those of you that struggle where your workplace has put so much pressure on you that your relationships cannot outlast that kind of pressure. So there is a way in which we can push back. We can turn off our phones. We can put it on do not disturb. We can just say, I won't be available, and put your foot down. And really, these are health measures. You could even go so far as to go to your doctor and look at getting medical certificates for whether or not it's affecting your mental health and whether or not these should be workplace measures to consider your well-being and ensure that you are given reasonable adjustments, as it is often called. So this is important. Push back in your workplace if that is part of the culture. Go and get medical support as well if you can, if it is affecting your mental health, being constantly on for your workplace and it's an expectation of them. It does also culturally come from the fact that we've all become very addicted to thinking and being busy. And so that has also, we are humans. Business and technology are only the reflection of us as users and as creators. It is humans that create businesses, and it is humans that use technology. That means that it is a human issue And fine, it may be a cultural kind of thing that we've made and allowed to be so big that we want to always be busy. And this does connect into the second part of this video. But just remember that the only way that you're going to fight back to a bigger culture is to do what takes care of you. And that is going to be the way that we can start to shift these larger cultural approaches to our being constantly on and always working. So really do use it. Do not be afraid. I am someone who has been through redundancies. I've been through leaving my job because of ill health. You know, all of these things, I can tell you, you got to fight for your well-being. You need to stand in it, and you need to go get the documented support to ensure that your workplace will support you. And if they won't, then it really is not a job you need to be worried about. It's time to leave. Welcome the break, welcome the rest, and do not worry about the money, because it always will work out if you relax and let yourself recover. This is really important part when you're in an unhealthy culture that pushes that workaholism. The second part is our own inner dynamic that makes us workaholics and makes us prone to not getting that support, not going and taking those measures that are going to support our well-being. And this is over-identification with our role and over-identification maybe with some of the tasks or people that you work with. This is the thing I most commonly see in my clients, and even with spiritual business owners who get really carried away with, you know, everything's going to fall over if I don't show up and do my tasks. Now, this is, you know, a self-fulfilling prophecy. Ultimately, if you are saying to the world and you're saying to your work that the jobs don't get done if you don't do them, and you're going to keep saying yes, yes, yes to more and more work, the only person who is going to be snowed under and have to work overtime is you. You have to separate your role and sense of identification and value in your job by learning to hold some healthy boundaries and give yourself some downtime and some rest. And to stop over-identifying that your job is in some way proof of your value as a human being, existence, and maybe pay packet, depending on how well you're paid. So I always thought that because I wasn't interested in money and I wasn't interested in like the aspects of my career development, I just really enjoyed working on cutting edge deals as a lawyer, that I kind of hadn't really fallen into that mess too much of over-identifying with my role. But my mind had played a trick on me, and that's what our minds do. Your mind will play a trick on you that you haven't really overly identified with your job, with your role. But I just wanted this endless pursuit of new projects, and the way for me to do that was to basically overwork, because it was an addition to my normal job to be able to get the cutting edge deals and to work on those and do them until the point where everyone else went, oh my God, that's got like really good value. What's Nid working on? We need to get a piece of what Nid does. And, you know, that built me a great reputation at work, that people would come to me and give me these cutting edge deals. And then the people who were senior to me would be like, oh, we want to know what Nid's up to, because Nid always knows how to have her fingers in all of the fun pies. But that was my ego. Right? And it led me to overwork because I was doing this in addition to. So be aware where your ego is going to play these games of telling you that you need to take on extra work, that the job isn't going to get done without you, that the only way that you're going to enjoy or be satisfied in your workplace is by doing these things, or by helping that colleague and always, you know, giving them a hand when they're struggling. These kind of stories that we tell ourselves about how we're helping our colleagues, how we're supporting other people, how the business needs us to do these things, they're all stories that often point to a poor self-worth, lack of self-esteem, low confidence, and poor self-value. So being really aware that you may be using your work and overworking as a way of avoiding sitting in the discomfort of really acknowledging yourself and really being with yourself. And in the years of not being in a corporate environment and running my own business, I have had several phases of overworking. And that overworking, again, often comes down to no one else is going to do it because it's my business. So I have to get on with it. Well, I can delegate tasks and I can have people assist me in order to get these jobs done. And that does help, and it alleviates a huge amount of my need to overwork. And instead of getting sick and having to take a rest because I'm sick, I can keep running my business and stay in good health. But what is it that overworking still links to even in running my own business? Well, again, it still comes to really understanding my value and where it's best placed. And also understanding what it is that I'm avoiding. And this is the key thing. Overworking is an addiction. And like any addiction, we do it to avoid or escape something that makes us feel uncomfortable. We can make the excuse that it is our workplace and we can put most of it on them. But ultimately, we all have the ability to stand in saying, no, this is not good for me. I do not want to be an addict in the workplace. My biggest breakthrough of understanding my overworking and my workaholism was through studying the yamas and the niyamas to really pinpoint where it was that I needed to focus on a better connection with myself in order to stop trying to escape and avoid my life. And it was through doing this that I could really focus on fine-tuning my connection with my spiritual self, as it turned out to be, in order to deepen the intimacy with the moment, to be more present, to be more aware and awake. And then I could choose not to work and relax and rest, knowing that the work would get done and that I would be efficient in doing that work because I would be rested and I would be clear thinking. And actually, it made me more available to let creativity to come up and rise through me and to offer more creative things to my clients. So being aware of what it is that is your avoidance is really important. The yamas and the niyamas can be a really great way to help you to move through this, and it's a key part of how I begin working with my clients on the Luminous Life program as well. But it's easy for you to do. You just have to pick up a yoga book and work through it yourself. Or alternatively, you can get in touch with me and we can book a session and we can go through how you can do the yamas and the niyamas in just 2 sessions of the Luminous Life, and then you may be on your way.